Okay, whose skin is feeling dry, irritated, flaky, and just not itself? Red and inflamed. All these things are exactly what my consultation clients are saying at the moment. Hi, I'm Rebecca Miller, the Skin Whisperer, and I thought I would just jump in today and maybe give you a little bit more understanding on why your skin potentially could be feeling red, inflamed, dry, irritated, and flaky. Yes, stress does definitely have an effect on our skin, a massive effect on our skin, but just something else that maybe you might need to little think about. 97% of Australians are dehydrated, and the reason that we're dehydrated is we actually do not get enough good fats from our diets. So unfortunately, most of the time we do need to supplement to make sure that we actually do get those good fats. And the reason we need them, and I've got little props here today to help me just to try and get you to understand. As you know, we've got trillions of cells through our body, but in particular in our skin, making sure that we have great quality cells is really important. So they need to get all the nutrients that they need, but they need essential fatty acids to be able to form a beautiful outer layer. So when we think of the skin cells and what could be happening with yours is, do we have a grape or do we have a sultana? And as you can see with the grape, it is got a really strong outer layer, which we call the cell membrane. And it's got all this watery fluid inside, which we call cytoplasm. And the thing about this is it's actually got a really, really important role when it actually moves up through the skin to form our barrier layer. So we need to make sure that our cells are nice and like grape-like, not like a sultana. Because these moving up through the skin, what do you think is going to be able to form a really good roof on the house of our skin? Definitely not the sultana, but the grape is going to have everything that it needs to come up and, as I said, put that beautiful roof on the house. And I'll just explain that a little bit further in a minute. So when it comes to our skin, and I always come to this slide, it's definitely my favorite, here's a beautiful epidermis. Now the epidermis is the outer layer of our skin. It's what protects us from the outside world. It stops microorganisms from getting in, but it also stops water evaporating out of the skin as well. And what it does is it actually sits here and really protects every single thing that's inside there. But for us to get a beautiful barrier, what has to happen? What happens is we have a mother cell that actually births a daughter cell, and this cell is born down here in the basal layer of the epidermis, because there's 5 layers. So it's actually got to go through a fair bit of a process to actually move through the skin. So what happens is that cell moves up through the skin, nice and juicy, like our grape, moves up through the skin, and when it gets up here to the granulosum layer, it actually starts to decompose, and everything that's inside that cell, plus the essential fatty acids that have actually helped to build the outer layer, and that watery substance inside, the cytoplasm, comes up and builds our barrier layer. So the great thing is about it starts to decompose and then moves up, and our skin's got exactly what it needs for it to build our protective layer. Now, the thing is, if it hasn't got everything that it needs, this is sort of what our skin looks like. So you can see, I always think about it as the roof on the house. And you can see the roof on the house on this side, on a healthy epidermis, everything inside is protected, nothing's evaporating out. But on this side, you can see that the cells are like a sultana, and so water's evaporating out, microorganisms are getting in, and this is where you can start to see congestion, acne, because the inflammatory response of our skin is actually switched on. And everything's getting in, and it's just in absolute chaos. And this is where we do start to see your skin becomes flaky, it starts to feel dry, it starts to feel red and inflamed. Another process that happens is when our skin is actually functioning properly, those cells come up and they build our barrier layer, but there's a little enzyme called the trismic enzyme. And what it does is it munches the desmosomes that actually hold these cells together for them to just be able to naturally destimate, because our skin actually doesn't need to be exfoliated if it's functioning properly. So those little enzymes are munching away, little Pac-Man in there, and those cells are able to fall off it when they're redundant, to be able to actually slough off themselves and do what our skin was designed to do. But obviously, if that enzyme isn't getting enough water and there's not enough essential fatty acids in our skin, then it's unable to go through that process, and you can see that it starts to build up here. And most people think, oh my goodness, I need to exfoliate my skin. And obviously that's when they overdo it and the skin becomes really red and inflamed. So it's sort of like a bit of a vicious circle. So this is, that's how our cells come up through the epidermis and form the roof on our house. Our barrier layer is basically the fundamental thing. If we can get that functioning properly and hydrated and juicy and how it's meant to be, like a grape, then we'll be able to have a great protective layer on the skin. But if we can't, the skin is actually dehydrated or absolutely dehydrated and not getting enough water, not getting enough lipids to be able to come up and form that barrier, then the skin actually starts to, really let us know that it's unhappy. And it is generally the start of most inflammatory skin conditions. So it's something to really think about. That dehydration really normally is the thing. If we've got dehydration in the skin, is that it normally has a cascade effect on actually causing other inflammatory skin conditions as well. So what does our skin need? So to form this big, this cell membrane, which is the protective part around our cell, and every cell in our body actually has this, we need essential fatty acids. And what they do is they come up and build this so they can actually control what goes in, control what goes out, and protect everything inside. But unfortunately, because of the Western diet, if you have a look at your plate, there's not a lot of good fats in there, because for years we were told that fats were actually not good for us, but we're learning now that they are. But most people definitely do not get enough. And I know for myself that I definitely have to supplement, because I'm noticing that I do have that deficiency. And when our body doesn't naturally make it, we need to get it from somewhere, and you need to make sure that you've got really good quality omegas. So obviously, what goes in our mouth is crucial for being able to help with that dehydrated skin. Or poor corneocyte compaction is the scientific name, but that's something that you definitely don't know. And for us to be able to produce beautiful cells, so obviously we eat our food, it goes through our mouth down into our stomach, and it starts to break down. It then passes into our small intestines, where our good bacteria also continues to break it down. And then what happens is it releases compounds from our small intestines into the bloodstream to then travel around to all the cells in the body to give it the nutrients that it needs, including essential fatty acids, to be able to form beautiful cells. So you can see that definitely incorporating an omega supplement, or making sure you increase those good fats into your diet, is crucial to be able to have a beautiful cell, and so it can actually form that roof on the house. And I hope this makes sense, because I'm trying to make it as easy as we can. Now, every person that comes in, we always say you need to make sure you're drinking enough water, which water is crucial for all of our organs to actually function properly. So 2 to 3 litres per day, and most people definitely aren't drinking enough water, especially now that it's starting to cool down. But only 13% of the water that we are drinking actually comes to our skin. So if you're not drinking enough water, your skin is actually going to suffer because it actually needs to go to every other vital hormone before it actually gets to the skin. And what water actually allows our stem cells to do, which our little stem cells that, give our cells the nutrients that it needs, the water will help for the water to be pulled from the bloodstream and to be able to produce the inside of our big juicy grape. So it's crucial that we definitely drink enough water, but just think, it does actually, as I said before, have to go to every other vital organ. So obviously it'll go to our brain, our heart, and it's really important for our blood to be able to flow through our body, because that's what actually, delivers the nutrients to our cells. So obviously when we go through this process, we want to make sure that we've got the healthiest cell, and we do call this little cell a keratocyte, down there, so it can come up and do its job to form our barrier. Barrier health and making sure that we've got a really strong roof on our house is fundamentally the key to healthy functioning skin. If we get this right, we have a domino effect into the rest of the skin. Because the big thing about this cell is it actually communicates with all the other cells and tells it what it needs to do. So if it needs some oil, it sings out to the sebaceous gland, or if it needs some protection from sun, it'll sing out to the melanocyte cell. He's sort of like the kingpin, this keratocyte, that comes up and forms this barrier layer. It is the predominant cell there, but he's also the conductor, or the kingpin that talks to everybody. So obviously if we do not have a healthy keratocyte, and it is like a sultana, when the mother births her baby, or when she goes through cell division, she's going to replicate what she's like. And if she's unhealthy, she's actually going to produce an unhealthy cell. And you can tell this is not going to be good for being able to, for this cell to be able to come up and actually do all that work that I just told you about. Our skin has an amazing way that it actually reproduces itself. So not only do we need omega-3s and a great amount of water, but we also need to make sure that we're using a skincare that we can topically put those essential fatty acids topically on the skin, making sure that our skincare is free of emulsifiers, which destroy emulsifiers, perfumes, fragrances, colors, preservatives, mineral oils, silicons. And most people don't actually know if these things are in their skincare, but I can guarantee you that most of your skincare would have them in there. And what it does is it absolutely interrupts this barrier layer as well. So your products could actually be causing this as well. So it's something just to be really mindful of. But knowing that at the moment, things, the climate's changing, and we always say it's a time to have a skin assessment, because your prescription that you're using at home could need a few more lipids in it. Plus you might have to up the amount of essential fatty acids that you're orally taking. Now, when it comes to essential fatty acids, it's also tricky, or omega-3s, because you need to make sure that you've got good quality omega-3s. And this is where we recommend the ultimate omegas, which come in a liquid and a capsule. And this actually gives you the recommended dose. And what you need to look at is the EPA and the DHA amount on the back of the container, and make sure it doesn't have any fillers in it, because it would be probably not really being able to be absorbed by your body for it to go in and build that beautiful cell membrane that every single cell in our body needs. We also know that our brain is predominantly made of lipids, so we need to make sure that we're definitely getting enough essential fatty acids for our brain to actually work properly, for us to have that great memory and to do all the functions that it actually does, but also for our gut health as we know, 80% of our immunity comes from our gut. And if you're not getting enough essential fatty acids, which is a thing that, and taking pre and probiotics, then your gut's unable to function properly as well. So if you think about everything, it's very intrinsically linked. And as we know, our skin and our gut continuously communicate. We know that our gut and our brain have neurotransmitters that are continuously communicating with each other. So we want to make sure we're feeding our body the essential nutrients that we cannot make for it to function properly, and essential fatty acids are definitely a must. These are the best on the market. I've been researching for quite a while now to find us a great supplement where you can get your daily dose. And for a normal skin, around about 3,000 milligrams is the norm. But anyone that's got those inflammatory skin conditions, eczema, dermatitis, acne, rosacea, all those skin conditions, we need to actually make sure that you're getting more, because your skin actually needs it. It means that your cells probably aren't quite as beautiful as they should be, and could potentially be a sultana. So these are just, hopefully I've been able to let, for this to make sense to you. I just thought I'd jump in. And also this time of year, as I said, your prescription may need to change. How your skin looks is 90% of what you're doing at home. And that includes what we eat. Nutrition plays a massive role in how our skin actually looks, feels, functions. So really be mindful of making sure you're drinking enough water, making sure it is critical that you actually have a supplement to increase those essential fatty acids for us to build those beautiful cell membranes, because this little cell has a massive job in building the barrier layer of our skin, which protects our skin and stops it from being red, irritated, and all those things that potentially could be happening with your skin at home. So I hope this has helped, and if there's any other questions, please just let me know. I love sharing knowledge very simply. The skin, as you can tell, is a massively complex organ, and this is basically just the top layer of the skin that we're looking at. But what my job is to do is break it down so you understand exactly what potentially could be happening with your skin. And let's not forget, we need to make sure that you're using a mimicking skin product that has those essential fatty acids in it for us to topically be putting on the skin, so our cells can be beautiful and plumped and be able to do their job. And obviously Dermavigils is the product that we use. It is skin mimicking. It is physiologically compatible with the skin. And if you want to know more, just let me know. I hope this has helped.